Before we dive into this story, leave a comment and let us know what city you're watching from. And don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 at the end. Rain hammered against the windows of Celestia as Emma Sullivan gripped her phone with trembling hands. Table 12. The hostess led her through a maze of crystal chandeliers and hushed conversations that smelled of old money and aged wine. The man at table 12 turned. Sharp cheekbones. Ice blue eyes. A navy suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent. "You're late." Emma froze. "I'm exactly on time. 7 o'clock. 7:30. The reservation is under Cain." "Wrong table. Wrong man." Her pulse thundered in her ears. This wasn't David Chen, the accountant Rachel had promised would be safe and boring. "I think there's been a mistake. If you're having second thoughts about our arrangement, say so now." His voice cut like glass. "I don't have patience for games." "Arrangement? Don't insult my intelligence. Your matchmaker was clear. 6 months. Public appearances. Full compensation as discussed." Horror bloomed in Emma's chest. He thought she was someone else. Someone he'd hired. "Remind me of the compensation." The words escaped before she could stop them. His lips curved into something cold. 50,000 per month. 6 months. Plus wardrobe allowance. 100,000 severance. 400,000 total. Emma's student loans. Her sister's medical school tuition. Freedom. What exactly would my role entail? Present as my girlfriend. Discourage my family's matchmaking attempts. Attend events. Be convincing. He leaned back, studying her. "In private, we maintain separate lives. No emotions, no complications." Insanity. She should run. "I have conditions. A written contract. Veto power over events. And I want to know your first name." Interest flickered in his cold eyes. "Nathaniel Cain." He extended his hand. "And you are?" Every rational thought screamed no. "Emma Sullivan." "Do we have a deal?" "Yes." Champagne arrived. Crystal sang against crystal. Emma's phone buzzed. "Rachel. The real blind date waiting somewhere in this restaurant." "Problem?" Nathaniel asked. "My actual blind date is probably wondering where I am." He set down his fork slowly. "Your actual blind date? I'm not whoever you were supposed to meet. I sat at the wrong table. You started talking about arrangements and money, and I just went with it." Silence. Then Nathaniel laughed. "Real. Unguarded. You crashed my arranged meeting and negotiated better terms than my actual hire." His eyes gleamed. "It sounds insane when you say it out loud." "It is insane. I should send you away." His smile lingered. "But your audacity is refreshing. We continue as discussed." "Full transparency." "Full transparency about what?" "You're more authentic than any professional could be." "Professional. High-end companion service. Very discreet. You hired an escort. And you're a better option. Professionals perform. You inhabit. You're rough around the edges in a charming way. I'm beginning to understand why you needed to hire a girlfriend." He smiled, something almost human breaking through the ice. "My sister usually tells me that right before she throws something at my head." Emma lifted her champagne glass, her reflection distorted in the golden liquid. What had she just agreed to? 3 weeks later, Emma stood in Nathaniel's penthouse while his stylist circled her like a predator. The city glittered 40 floors below, distant and cold. "This is for the charity gala," Nathaniel said from the window. "My mother will be there." She's the real test. The dress was midnight blue silk that whispered against Emma's skin. She looked like someone else in the mirror. Someone who belonged here. Your mother doesn't know about our arrangement. No one does. That's the point. At the gala, Nathaniel's hand burned against her lower back. Cameras flashed like lightning. He introduced her to senators, CEOs, old money dynasties. Emma smiled until her face hurt. Then a woman approached. Silver hair. Emerald gown. Eyes like winter. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Mother. Nathaniel. Her gaze dissected Emma with surgical precision. And who is this? Emma Sullivan. My girlfriend. How convenient. Right before your father's will conditions take effect. Her smile was a blade. Tell me, Emma, what do you do? I'm a copywriter. How quaint. She turned to Nathaniel. Your father would be disappointed. Another gold digger. Fire blazed through Emma's veins. With respect, Mrs. Cain, I'm not interested in your son's money. The lie tasted like ash. We'll see. His mother glided away, leaving frost in her wake. Nathaniel's grip tightened on Emma's waist. I should have warned you. She's difficult. What did she mean about your father's will? His eyes went flat. Nothing that concerns you. But the ice in his voice said everything. Later, in the penthouse, Emma found documents on his desk. Legal papers. Her name caught her eye, even though she'd never signed anything yet. The will stipulated Nathaniel had to be married within 6 months or lose controlling interest in Cain Industries. The date matched their arrangement exactly. He hadn't hired a girlfriend. He'd hired a wife. The door opened. Nathaniel stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. We need to talk. Emma held the papers. Her hands shook. You're losing your company unless you marry someone. That's what this is really about. Nathaniel closed the door. Yes. When were you going to tell me? Does it matter? The arrangement stays the same. It's not the same. She threw the documents at him. You lied. I omitted details. He loosened his tie. The end result is identical. 6 months. Public relationship. Compensation. Except now you need me to marry you. If you're willing to renegotiate. His voice was careful. Clinical. Double the monthly payment. $500,000 severance. Emma's breath caught. $1 million total. Why me? You could have anyone. Because you need the money badly enough to say yes. And because you're not part of my world. When this ends, you disappear cleanly. He poured whiskey with steady hands. No complications. You're asking me to commit fraud. I'm asking you to participate in a legal marriage that benefits both of us. He met her eyes. My father built this company from nothing. I won't let vultures take it because of his antiquated values about family. Emma moved to the window. Manhattan sprawled below, cold and glittering. What happens after 6 months? Quiet divorce. Irreconcilable differences. You walk away wealthy. I keep my company. She should refuse. This was deeper than she'd ever intended to go. 1 million. Yes. I want it in writing. Tonight. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Done. They signed the new contract at 2 in the morning. Nathaniel's lawyers had drafted it in hours. Emma's signature felt like crossing a line she couldn't uncross. Why are you really doing this? She asked as he poured more whiskey. I told you. No. Why do you care so much? It's just a company. His jaw tightened. My father spent his last year trying to control me from beyond the grave. Marriage, children, legacy. As if I was just another asset to manage. He downed the whiskey. I won't be managed. So this is revenge. This is freedom. Emma saw it then. The same desperation she felt. Different circumstances. Same cage. What happened to you? She whispered. Nothing I want to discuss. But his eyes told a different story. One written in scars she couldn't yet read. The wedding was planned for 3 weeks later. City Hall. Minimal witnesses. A transaction dressed in legal paperwork. Emma told her sister Sophie it was a whirlwind romance. The lie crushed something in her chest. I'm happy for you, Sophie said over coffee, her eyes bright. He treats you well, right? He's complicated. Aren't they all? Sophie smiled, then grew serious. You'd tell me if something was wrong, right? Emma forced brightness into her voice. Of course. Another lie. They were piling up now, a wall between her and everyone she loved. The ceremony lasted 12 minutes. Nathaniel's hand was cold when he slipped the ring on her finger. The diamond caught the fluorescent light, throwing fractured rainbows across the sterile walls. You may kiss the bride. Nathaniel's lips brushed hers. Brief. Businesslike. Nothing. But when he pulled away, something flickered in his eyes. Something that looked almost like regret. The reception was at his penthouse. His mother didn't attend. His sister did. So you're the one who finally trapped him. Olivia Cain had Nathaniel's eyes but warmer. I'm impressed. No one's managed that before. I didn't trap anyone. Sure you didn't. Olivia sipped champagne. Word of advice. My brother doesn't let people in. Ever. Whatever you think this is, it's not. I know exactly what this is. Do you? Olivia's smile faded. Because the last woman who thought she understood him ended up in therapy for 2 years. Emma's stomach dropped. What happened? Ask him. If he ever tells you the truth about anything. Olivia set down her glass. Good luck, Emma. You'll need it. That night, Emma stood in the guest room Nathaniel had prepared for her. Separate bedrooms. The contract terms were clear. A knock on the door. Nathaniel entered, still in his wedding suit. He looked exhausted. We need to discuss tomorrow. There's a board meeting. My mother will challenge the marriage. We need to be convincing. We were convincing today. That was legal theater. Tomorrow requires something more. He moved to the window. They'll look for cracks. Inconsistencies. What do you want me to do? Be yourself. That's what makes this work. He turned. You don't perform. You react. It's more authentic than anything scripted. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. Silence stretched between them. The city hummed below, oblivious to the lies they were spinning. Olivia told me about someone. A woman from before. Nathaniel's expression shuddered. Olivia talks too much. What happened? Nothing relevant to our arrangement. We're married now. Even if it's fake, I should know what I'm walking into. He laughed, bitter and sharp. You want the truth? Her name was Victoria. I thought I loved her. Turns out she loved my father's money more. She fed him information about me for 2 years. Every private moment, every weakness. He used it to control me. His voice went flat. When I found out, she said I should be grateful. That she was protecting me from my own stupidity. Emma's chest tightened. Nathaniel. Don't. He held up a hand. Don't pity me. I learned a valuable lesson. Trust is a liability. Emotions are weaknesses. This arrangement works because we both understand that. Do we? He stared at her. In the dim light, he looked almost vulnerable. What are you asking, Emma? I don't know. And she didn't. The lines were already blurring. Forget it. Nathaniel moved toward the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, you looked beautiful today. The real kind, not the manufactured version. He left before she could respond. Emma stared at her wedding ring. The diamond glittered, cold and perfect. What was she doing? The next morning, Emma woke to voices in the living room. Angry voices. She found Nathaniel facing a man in an expensive suit. Papers scattered across the coffee table. This marriage is fraudulent, the man said. My client has evidence. Your client is my mother, James. Use her name. Mrs. Cain has security footage from the restaurant. The night you met Emma. It shows her sitting at the wrong table first. Emma's blood turned to ice. It shows, James continued, pulling out photos, that this entire relationship began with a case of mistaken identity. That Emma Sullivan crashed a meeting where you were hiring a professional companion to pose as your girlfriend. Nathaniel's face was stone. This marriage, James smiled, violates the spirit of your father's will. We'll have it annulled by the end of the week. Emma found her voice. You can't prove anything. Can't I? I have the escort agency's records. The woman you were supposed to meet that night. Text messages between Nathaniel and the matchmaker. He spread them across the table. A paper trail showing premeditated fraud. Get out, Nathaniel said quietly. 1 week, Nathaniel. Then this charade ends. James gathered his papers. Your father knew you'd try something like this. He made provisions. The door closed. Nathaniel turned to Emma. His eyes were dark with something she couldn't read. They knew, she whispered. The whole time. My mother has people everywhere. I was a fool to think we could hide this. What happens now? Now? He laughed, hollow and broken. Now we lose everything. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I have information that could help you. But it will cost you everything. Meet me tonight. Come alone. She looked up at Nathaniel, her heart pounding. Should she trust a stranger's message? Or trust the man she'd married, who'd never promised her anything but lies? Emma met the stranger at a coffee shop in Brooklyn. Rain streaked the windows. The woman across from her was young, blonde, and terrified. My name is Claire. I was supposed to be at that restaurant. Table 12. The escort Nathaniel had hired. Why are you here? Because Mrs. Cain paid me to destroy you. Claire's hands shook around her cup. She offered me $200,000 to testify that Nathaniel hired me for fraud. That you were part of the scheme from the beginning. Emma's stomach lurched. Are you going to do it? I was. Until I saw the security footage. Claire pulled out her phone. This is what they're not showing the lawyers. The video played. Emma sitting at table 12. But before that, another woman. Older. Familiar. Nathaniel's mother. The board meeting was in 3 days. If they could convince everyone the marriage was legitimate, Nathaniel would keep control of the company. His mother would lose everything. But on the second day, Emma received a call. Sophie. Her sister. Something's wrong. The medical school funding. It's gone. All of it. They said there was a clerical error with the trust fund. Emma's blood froze. They said, Sophie's voice cracked, that someone requested the funds be frozen pending a fraud investigation. What's happening? Why would anyone investigate us? Emma knew. Mrs. Cain's final move. If Emma testified against her, Sophie would be destroyed. Medical school gone. Future ruined. All because Emma had chosen Nathaniel over money. She met Mrs. Cain in a hotel lobby that afternoon. The older woman smiled. Surprised? What do you want? Testify that the marriage is fraudulent. Tell the board it was always about money. Walk away quietly. Mrs. Cain sipped her tea. Do that, and your sister's funding is restored. Plus the original $1 million we agreed upon. Refuse, and Sophie loses everything. You're blackmailing me. I'm giving you a choice. Your sister's future or my son's company. She leaned forward. Choose wisely, Emma. You only get one. Emma stood outside the boardroom. Inside, Nathaniel waited. Trusting her. Believing in her. In her pocket, her phone buzzed. Sophie, asking if everything was okay. She had to choose. Save the man she'd grown to love. Or save her sister, the only family she had left. Emma took a breath and opened the door. The boardroom smelled of leather and old power. 12 faces stared at Emma as she took the witness chair. Nathaniel sat at the head of the table, his eyes locked on hers. Mrs. Cain watched from the corner. Waiting. Mrs. Cain, the chairman began, please tell us about the night you met Nathaniel. This was it. The choice. Emma thought of Sophie. Her laugh. Her dreams. Everything she'd sacrificed to help Emma survive after their parents died. Sophie deserved her future. But she looked at Nathaniel. At the man behind the ice. The one who'd shown her his scars and trusted her not to cut deeper. I sat at the wrong table, Emma said quietly. Table 12. Nathaniel thought I was someone else. Someone he'd hired. Nathaniel's face went pale. Mrs. Cain smiled. We negotiated an arrangement. Money for companionship. It was a transaction. Nothing more. Emma's voice was steady. When I discovered he needed a wife to maintain his inheritance, I saw an opportunity. I agreed to marry him for $1 million. So you're confirming, the chairman said, that this marriage was fraudulent from the beginning? Emma met Nathaniel's eyes. Saw the betrayal. The heartbreak. No. The room went silent. I'm confirming that's how it started. But that's not what it became. Emma stood. Mrs. Cain orchestrated our meeting. She moved table cards to ensure I'd sit at the wrong place. She created the circumstances for fraud so she could later expose it and claim the inheritance herself. She pulled out the USB drive. This footage proves her involvement. It also proves that while our arrangement began as a transaction, what happened after was real. I fell in love with a man who'd forgotten how to trust anyone. And somehow, impossibly, he fell in love with me too. You're lying, Mrs. Cain hissed. I have leverage. Your sister. I know. Emma turned to her. And I'm calling your bluff. Because if you destroy Sophie's future, I'll make sure every person in this room knows you murdered your husband for his money. That you manipulated your own son for years. That you're the real fraud. You can't prove that. Can't I? Nathaniel's father changed his will the day before he died. You were alone with him. I have medical records showing inconsistencies in his death. Questions the doctors had but were paid to ignore. Emma's voice was steel. I spent the last 3 days digging into everything. And I found all of it. She hadn't. But Mrs. Cain didn't know that. The older woman's face crumbled. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Emma stepped forward. You have 24 hours to restore Sophie's funding and disappear. Or I go to the police with everything I have. Your choice. Mrs. Cain looked at her son. Nathaniel stared back, his expression unreadable. You're just like her, his mother whispered to Emma. Another gold digger. No, Nathaniel said, standing. She's nothing like you. She chose sacrifice over money. Something you've never understood. He moved to Emma's side. This meeting is over. As of now, Mrs. Victoria Cain is removed from all positions within Cain Industries. Security will escort you out. His mother left, her empire crumbling. The board voted. Unanimous. The marriage was legitimate. Nathaniel retained control. They'd won. But Emma couldn't feel victorious. Outside, under a sky-threatening rain, Nathaniel caught her arm. You were going to testify against me. I saw it in your eyes. I was going to save my sister. And instead you saved me. Why? Emma's eyes burned. Because I meant what I said in there. I love you. Even though it's stupid and complicated and probably going to destroy me. Emma. I know this wasn't the deal. I know you wanted no emotions, no complications. But I can't help it. She laughed, broken. I crashed your blind date and fell in love with you by accident. Nathaniel cupped her face. His hands were trembling. I've spent years building walls. Keeping everyone out. Being alone felt safer than being hurt again. His voice cracked. And then you walked into that restaurant and sat at the wrong table and ruined everything. I'm sorry. Don't be. He kissed her. Desperate. Real. You didn't ruin everything. You saved it. You saved me. So what happens now? Now? Nathaniel smiled. Genuine. Unguarded. Now we figure out how to be married for real. No contracts. No arrangements. Just us. That's terrifying. I know. He pulled her closer. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe and alone. Rain began to fall. They stood in it, holding each other as Manhattan rushed past, oblivious to two broken people choosing to be whole together. 3 months later, Emma sat in Nathaniel's study. Their study now. Sophie's medical school funding had been restored, mysteriously, through an anonymous donor. Mrs. Cain had vanished to Europe, her influence destroyed. What are you thinking about? Nathaniel asked from the doorway. That night. Table 12. How everything could have been different if I'd just looked at the reservation number. Different isn't better. No. Emma smiled. It's not. He crossed to her, pulled her close. I'm glad you sat at the wrong table. Me too. Because sometimes the best love stories begin with a mistake. With two scarred people colliding by accident and choosing, against all logic, to stay. Emma Sullivan had walked into a restaurant looking for a safe, boring blind date. Instead, she'd found something dangerous and real. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid. Outside, the city glittered. Inside, two people who'd learned to trust again held each other close. The wrong table had led them home. The end. Thank you for watching. Please rate this story from 0 to 10 in the comments below. What city are you watching from? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed this story.